You know, Dr. Bob, it's a big problem with a lot of talk shows. I'm glad we don't do it, is this whole thing of two people talking at once.
Next on AM 1480 WLEA, the Newsmaker Show. Here's Brian O'Neill.
From the UK Daily Mail, White House says Trump will sign spending bill to avoid shutdown, but will declare border emergency too. Pelosi warns GOP a future Democrat president could use the same tactic to impose gun control.
Yes, well, so much for Pelosi. I do think a couple of things on this. Number one, I was watching Senator Wlea being interviewed by, I think, BBC a couple of nights ago, and BBC's pretty liberal. There's no two ways about it, and I think it was Judy Woodruff actually was saying, well, it's clear that Nancy Pelosi said that it would never get any funding for the wall, and now you're proposing funding, and so has she lost? This whole idea of somebody lost, somebody won. Wlea didn't, he's been around the block once or twice. He never said one way or another. The whole idea is to build some sort of compromise here and move it along. And that's what this is a compromise. And typically from compromises, nobody's particularly happy. But the statements by Schumer and Pelosi were way off the edge of any kind of compromise. Schumer saying no wall, never, never, never. I mean, that just destroys any ability to put together some kind of reasonable agreement. And we assume Trump will sign this. I think the advantage, again, as I said, from the Congress's point of view is that you don't want Trump declaring a national emergency and then funding it from that. Because once he's done that, then, as Pelosi says, any other president can come along and start using declarations of national emergency. And I don't think we need to encourage that. And I think the Congress, the Senate especially, understands that. So, from Trump's point of view, it's not great, but it's better than nothing. Now, I did see, and I don't know if you saw this or not, Brian, where Ted Cruz was saying that El Chapo's, the drug king who has just been convicted on all 10 counts, and apparently the Justice Department has confiscated something like $13 billion in drug funds from the guy. And Cruz is saying, why don't we use that money to build the wall? Now, that would not be unreasonable, frankly. I mean, that's the whole idea of the wall, or a lot of the idea of the wall, is to shut down on these drug traffickers and such. Sure. Why not use some of that money to actually build a wall? Now, I don't know if the money's they can do that, but it's not a bad idea. The problem from Trump's point of view would be, of course, that it wasn't his idea. And I don't know if he'll be that eager to give Cruz credit for it. But at any rate, you haven't seen anything on that then, Brian?
On El Chapo money?
Yeah. Well, never mind. We'll don't have
Pelosi
to dig too
did not
big a
rule
hole.
out legal action in order to block Trump from getting this wall in.
She's going to have trouble hanging on to her control in the House of Representatives. You start making comments like she's been making, and the point is Trump's popularity in some of the polls is over 50% right now. And if they use any good sense in terms of selecting candidates for the upcoming, well, it's a ways off yet, congressional races, and Trump maintains that level of popularity, why I think the control of the House could move in the other direction again, or certainly tighten up. So we'll let the legal action again. And a point to be made here on that is, I think, that what Senator McConnell has been doing has been pumping as many conservatives as he can.
Dr. Bob, can you hold one moment?
Can I?
Senator Tom OMara is calling me.
Well, all right.
Senator OMara. Good. I'm just doing a Newsmaker with Dr. Bob Heineman. Do you mind if I throw you onto the show? All right, here we go. And we're being joined now by State Senator Tom OMara. We're on with Dr. Robert Heineman. Senator OMara, your thoughts on the Amazon deal?
Oh, it's atrocious. The complete lack of leadership and coordination on this effort from the governor's office and the New York City mayor's on down. I mean, to look a project that could be one of the biggest economic development project in New York State history, 25,000 jobs, and to be just making these complaints, no coordination from the upper levels to those in the communities dealing with this. The outrage by local extreme liberal Democrats in Queens trying to block this project. I mean, this is just unconscionable. It would be a great asset for the entire state, but hopefully they'll consider other areas in New York that will be more appreciative of this kind of investment in the community.
Yeah, Assemblyman Palmisano was saying on the air yesterday, Thursday, that hey, if they want to come to the Finger Lakes or Steuben County, wherever they'd like to locate, that would be fine with him.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. I think they need to be around a larger metropolitan area just for the sheer number of jobs they're looking at, but certainly there's places in upstate that could be centrally located that could draw from a number of places for those kinds of good jobs, if not just outside of the city in the lower Hudson Valley, would be a great location. I thought that would be a better location for it from the beginning. But this thing has just been totally mishandled and screwed up at the highest levels of the New York State Democrat Party.
Senator OMara, if I could ask a quick question. Now, Assemblyman Palmisano named names. He said he seemed to be very annoyed with Senator Mike Gianaris down in New York City, and also Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And it seemed like Palmisano was more annoyed at them than the governor himself.
Well, I think that the governor lacked the foresight to involve people at all levels. And, it's with the governor. It's his way or the highway. It's all going to be his baby. It's going to be done the way he wants it. But those that were local representatives from Mike Gianaris, and a real failure on the part of the new majority leader of the New York State Senate, Andrea Stewart-Cousins, to at the same time place Senator Gianaris on the Public Authorities Control Board that could veto this project, sent a horrible message to the company that they weren't going to be treated fairly. Gianaris made it clear that he was opposed to this project from the beginning. Very bad timing and bad form to put him on that position by the new majority leader. And Ocasio-Cortez, she is what she is. She's a phenom right now, and she'll crash and burn before too long.
If I could ask you, do you have time for one more quick question, Senator OMara?
Sure.
I was wondering, with the situation with the Senate Republican leader, John Flanagan, will there be another vote anytime that would allow Senator Young to run again? Would there be a vote on that anytime soon as far as Senator Young possibly going once again for the Senate minority leader job?
Well, as you know, Senator Flanagan is just recently back from the ordeal that he went through. There is no movement or efforts that I'm aware of right now for that type of a vote. We're going to give John, I think, the leeway that he should be given in the ordeal that he's been challenged with. And I wish him the best. And we'll see where things go. But as of right now, I'm not aware of anything afoot.
Senator OMara, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you. Have a great night.
Great. And we're back with Dr. Robert Heineman. Dr. Bob, your thoughts on what Senator OMara said there?
Well, I think he's absolutely right. It's a real problem in terms of leadership, but I think that the Congresswoman is going to be continually a thorn in the side of the Democrats. And this is a classic example of what the problems that she can cause. And also, I think as Senator OMara pointed out, the Democrats in the state Senate are not going to be kowtowing to any great extent to the governor. So it's a classic. I think it's kind of a classic example, or perhaps a indication of things to come, that the problems the Democrats are going to have here. I mean, it's all kind of laid out there. And I do think he's right in terms of upstate. You take, for example, Kodak Park and Rochester. I mean, that's a huge area there that's just empty.
Right.
And Amazon could move in there at very low cost. But I think probably if I'm Amazon, they're going to be looking.
They're going to Virginia.
Some other state somewhere.
Yeah, they're going to Virginia, Doc.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the J.P. Miller page, EmpireReportNewYork.com, has right above the headline, Amazon kills New York deal, a smiling picture of Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah, well, I think that's good. It's too bad for New York City. But the fact is, the Democrats have a serious, serious problem on their hands, and she is only one part of it. And if the Republicans got any sense, they just stand back and let them tear at each other, I think, is what's going to happen.
Talking to Dr. Bob Heineman, we went into state news there unexpectedly because we got a nice call there from State Senator Tom OMara. Great to hear from him. Dr. Bob, we were talking about the border, the wall, and the whole shutdown situation. Did you want to get back to that topic?
No, I think we've made the points on that. I think we'll just let Mr. Trump move along and see what happens to Senator Cruz's idea. I did want to make a point here, and I don't know how much time we have left here, Brian.
We're 13 minutes into the show, Doc.
Oh, okay. Well, that means we got another 15, 20 minutes. And yeah.
That's right. Lecture time.
Well, I think what happens, second-term presidents, very often is that they begin to spend more of their time getting involved in foreign affairs because they're kind of lame duck. And I think with the Democrats in control of the House of Representatives, you're going to be seeing Trump moving more and more, I think, to dealing with foreign affairs issues. And it's pretty amazing because he's been critical of our intelligence service and some of the other areas there involving foreign affairs. But the fact is, they seem to be doing a pretty effective job out there. The most recent information we have now is that somebody is disrupting Iran's attempts to build military efforts and other kinds of economic efforts are being disrupted pretty badly over there in Iran. And now we have this attack on the Revolutionary Guards, which killed, 17 or 20. So there are other groups operating there in that country that are pretty disruptive. And
I'm glad you brought that up.
You got to believe we have something to do with that.
I'm glad you brought that up. There's video all over Haaretz and the Drudge Report that Benjamin Netanyahu has leaked a video of Arab leaders slamming and blasting Iran, calling Iran toxic.
Yeah.
In a video Netanyahu loaded on his YouTube pages, Bahrain and Saudi Arabia say Iran blocked the path to solving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in private conversations that they apparently didn't know were going to be leaked.
Yeah, well, I think there are plenty of actors in the Middle East that don't have any use for Iran as well. And so, again, it's one of those situations where, in one way, I think we have more to do with it than what you're getting on the media. On the other hand, there are plenty of other people that will step in and take up the slack. I think also what's kind of interesting is that you may have seen that the Senate Intelligence Committee, after they're investigating possibilities of Russian collusion in the 2018 election has concluded that, in fact, 2016 election, I'm sorry, has concluded there's no evidence whatsoever that was collusion between the Russians and the Trump campaign. Now, how much of that do you see in the media?
No, it's just you hear reports of more investigations are upcoming. And
Democrats won't give up. And again, I think they're hurting themselves there. I mean, people are just shaking their heads here. Now, there are Democrats on the Senate Intelligence Committee. I assume they agree with the findings of that report. So let's move on, folks. That's kind of what we should be doing, it seems to me.
Going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Dr. Bob. We're going to talk about taxes.
Taxes? Oh, yeah, sure.
It's time to join the millions of people using Zoom video conferencing. Turn any size conference room, huddle room, or executive office into a Zoom room with flawless HD video, crystal clear audio, and instant wireless sharing. It'll even work with your existing hardware. Start your meetings with a single touch or use Zoom's new voice command feature. Hey Zoom, start meeting. Huddle happy. Visit zoom.us to set up your free Zoom room trial today. That's zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing.
And we're back with Dr. Bob. Federal government collected a record number in individual income taxes, according to the monthly Treasury statements for the year. And this was after the year of President Donald Trump and his Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which was signed in late December 2017. Your thoughts, Dr. Heineman?
Well, I think with the economy booming the way it is, you should be getting more tax revenue, even if you've cut the tax rate here and there. Now, Trump says it's the greatest tax cut in history. Well, I don't think so. But the fact is, it did cut taxes. But the other side of it is that the economy is booming at such a rate that you would expect tax revenues to go up. So that doesn't mean we're not going to end up with a hefty deficit at the national level, but frankly, I don't get too worked up about budget deficits at the national level.
Dr. Bob, is Joe Biden going to get into the race?
Well, I think he will. Yeah, I think he's. Well, here's the problem. Kamala Harris is already complaining she doesn't have enough money. She's short money for the primary. There are several levels of primary. There's a money primary, then there are the actual primaries. And the money primary, people are estimating it's going to take something like $50 million to $100 million just to be able to win and get on the ballot. And you just got so many people in there, they're draining money from all the Democrat donors. And the problem for a lot of them is that Bloomberg has already committed $50 million to the primary campaign of his own money. So he's going to be there bumping right along. And the question will be if he can convey a perception that puts him in as a viable candidate. And meanwhile, Biden, I think, is just sitting back watching all this. And I don't know. If it gets totally out of hand, I think Joe may well step in. On the other hand,
Beto O'Rourke.
Yeah, what?
What do you think about his chances in this whole thing?
I don't think he has any chances at all. My predictions in the past have been pretty bad. So
how about Kamala Harris? How about Cory Booker? How about Gillibrand?
You can forget the last two, but Harris has a base. She's got a big state there. She's served as Attorney General in the state. I don't know what kind of speaker she is. I don't know, about her political savvy. But, I think she'd have a pretty good shot in many respects there. But again, it's kind of interesting that already she's scrambling for money. I mean, what do we got? 12, 15 candidates right now, Brian?
Yeah, it's as many or more than when Trump was running there a few years ago on the Republican side.
You've got to have somebody who can just step out there and, begin to attract. Now, Trump, at the beginning of the primary season there, was called all kinds of names, some of which I myself called him. But
I remember those days.
Yes, well, just let them slide now. But the point is, he clearly had a sense of what the average person was thinking out there, and you've got to have a Democrat candidate in there who can grab onto that. And right now, I just don't see anybody in there that can do that. Certainly not Elizabeth Warren. No, it's and that's where Joe Biden, I think, is pretty good. He does have a natural ability to relate to people. So it'll be interesting.
Earlier in the week I was talking to Dr. Gary Ostrower, and I said it's going to be interesting to see if Congressman Tom Reed leans more to the center with the Problem Solvers Caucus, or if he goes with President Donald Trump. Reed issued a statement on the shutdown and the border and all that yesterday afternoon. He said, "We care about securing our border for the safety and security of the people throughout the country. The bill is a fair compromise between Republicans and Democrats on the issue. We recognize the president has the authority to declare a national emergency," but Reed says he believes this sets a bad precedent and gets Congress off the hook from doing its job.
Yeah, no, he's absolutely right. No, Trump will take the, what is it, $1.75 billion or something like that, or whatever they've given him, and he'll find some other money here and there, and end up building more than 50 miles or whatever of the wall. But the point is, he's made a start here, and he's certainly convinced people he really wants the wall, and so I don't think there's too much more he needs to do at this point.
Dr. Bob, out of time. Got to thank you so much for stopping by.
Well, it's been a really fascinating discussion with you and Mr. OMara.